Hello guys, in this video I'm going to show you how to make your desires feel natural and show up in your life even though at first they may feel unreal and unfamiliar. I will show you step by step in this video, so make sure to watch it till the end. And you do not see your desire objectively, you simply sense it, you feel it subjectively, you do not grow up in space after a desirable state. Like Isaac, you sit still and send your first son hunting by removing your attention from your objective world. Then, in the absence of your first son, Esau, you invite the desirable state, your second son, Jacob, to come close so that you may feel it. Come close, my son, that I may feel you. First, you are aware of it in your immediate environment. Then you draw it closer and closer and closer until you sense it and feel it in your immediate presence so that it is real and natural to you. So Neville here is telling a story about our own mind using an old Bible story as a kind of code. So here I will explain how you actually can create something that you want in life, not by trying so hard and working hard out in the world to grab it, but by doing something internal. And the first thing is this: you do not see your desire objectively, you simply sense it, you feel it subjectively. So when you want something, whatever it is, you don't actually experience that desire by looking at it, sitting out there in front of you like a table or a chair. You can't point to it in the room. It's not out there in the physical world yet. Instead, you experience it inside yourself as a feeling. It lives in you, not in the world. That's what subjectively means here. It's something inside your own inner experience, not out there as an object you can see and touch. And that leads directly into the next line. You do not grow up in space after a desirable state. You do not reach around blindly trying to grab something, like fumbling around in the dark trying to find a light switch. You do not always get what you want by physically reaching out into the world and trying to grab it with your hands, or by chasing it around out there through effort and struggle. The whole game happens inside you, in your imagination and in your feelings, not in outer space or in physical effort. You may think you are getting something as a result of your effort or struggle physically, but at some point, maybe 2 weeks ago, 6 months ago, or years ago, you had this idea and it already came in fruition into physical world and you are getting it. So it's not the first time you are getting it, you did it before within yourself. And Neville takes this story of the Bible, Isaac, who was old and blind and who had 2 sons, Esau the older one and Jacob the younger one. I'm reading the story just as Neville describes. In the original story, blind old Isaac wants to bless his firstborn son Esau, so he sends Esau out into the fields to hunt some wild game and cook it for him, so that afterward he can give Esau his blessing. While Esau is out there hunting, Jacob, with some help from his mother, sneaks in pretending to be Esau, gets close to his blind father, and receives the blessing instead, because Isaac, unable to see, has to rely on touch and feeling to figure out who is in front of him. And Neville uses this whole story and turns it into a metaphor, a kind of symbolic code for what happens inside your own mind when you want to create something new in your life. He says, like Isaac, you sit still and send your first son hunting by removing your attention from your objective world. So in this metaphor, you are Isaac. Esau, the first son, represents your physical senses, your eyes, your ears, your normal awareness of the world exactly as it currently is, all the plain hard facts of your current situation. When Neville says you sent Esau hunting, you deliberately stop paying attention to the current facts of your life for a little while. You stop staring at what's missing, what's wrong, what hasn't happened yet. You essentially give your physical senses a task to go do elsewhere, so they're out of the room, so to speak, and not distracting you or arguing with you about what's real right now. Then, once your awareness of current outer reality is sent away and out of the picture, something else gets invited in, and this is Jacob. Neville writes, then in the absence of your first son Esau, you invite the desirable state, your second son, that is Jacob, to come close so that you may feel it. Jacob here represents your imagination, specifically the image or feeling of your wish already come true. So with your senses distracted and out of the way, you turn your attention instead to this imagined, desired version of reality and you invite it to come close to you. And that brings us to the actual line, come close, my son, that I may feel you. Neville borrows this literally and turns it into instruction for you. Invite your desired state, your wish fulfilled, to come close enough that you can feel it. Not just think about it abstractly, not just picture it far away like a photograph, but actually feel it up close. And then the last line, first you're aware of it in your immediate environment, then you draw it closer and closer until you sense it and feel it in your immediate presence so that it is real and natural to you. So first you start by simply being aware of your desire. Maybe it feels distant, like an idea, like something over there in your imagination. Then instead of leaving it distant, you deliberately draw it closer in your mind and feelings, again and again, the same way you draw a person closer for a hug, closer and closer until it's no longer distant or abstract at all, but sitting right there with you, as close and real and natural as anything actually happening in your physical life right now. So the whole point of drawing it closer and closer is that the closeness is what makes it feel real to you. And if you can feel something as real and natural now in your imagination, that inner reality eventually becomes your outer reality too. So creating what you want is not about chasing it in the physical world with your hands or your effort. It's about a quiet inner move, turning away from your current physical facts and circumstances and instead inviting the feeling of your wish fulfilled to come close to you in your imagination. And you keep drawing that imagined, wished for feeling closer and closer, not leaving it as a faraway hope, but pulling it right up next to you emotionally until it feels just as real, as natural and present as anything you could touch with your physical hands. Or let's say that it gets your old beliefs that you don't like out of you and make you forget them. And that felt sense of reality and closeness is what turns an inner wish into an outer lived reality. And if two of you shall agree on earth as touching on any point that they shall ask, it shall be done for them of my Father, which is in heaven. The two agree through the sense of feel, and the agreement is established on earth, is objectified, is made real. The two agreeing are Isaac and Jacob, you and that which you desire, and the agreement is made solely on the sense of feeling. So if two of you shall agree on earth as touching on any point that they shall ask, it shall be done for them of my Father which is in heaven. So the two are two things existing inside your own mind at the same time. That is your desire, meaning the thing that you want, and your current feeling about whether that thing is actually true or not yet. Let's say you want a new job or more money or whatever it is. There's a part of you that wants it, hopes for it, longs for it, and even prays for it. But there's actually also another part of you running at the very same time that doesn't fully believe it, that doubts it, that keeps noticing all the reasons it has not happened yet. One part of you says, I want this and I believe I will have it, while another part of you says, but look around, it's not here, it might not come. These two parts, wanting on one side and doubting on the other side, are in conflict. They are arguing with each other back and forth inside your own head, usually without you even fully noticing it's happening. And this is what's meant by the two not agreeing. There's a disagreement between what you want and what you actually feel to be true. And as long as that inner argument keeps happening, as long as those two parts of you don't line up with each other, nothing changes in your outer physical life. You just stay stuck wanting something without actually having it, hoping without feeling the hope confirmed, or praying without your prayer being answered. The wanting alone is not enough because it's constantly being cancelled out by the doubting. The moment those two inner parts of you actually stop fighting and start agreeing with each other, that's when something shifts and the thing that you want begins to actually happen in your real life. But it's really important to understand what agreeing means here. It means that the doubt quietly dissolves and disappears, and in its place, a calm, settled feeling shows up instead. The feeling that this is already true and this is already so. So instead of one part of you hoping and the other part doubting, both parts of you are now saying the exact same thing, feeling the exact same way, with no more tension and no more argument and no more gap between them. And here is how to make them agree. The two agree through the sense of feel, and the agreement is established on earth, is objectified, is made real. So the question is, okay, but how exactly does that agreement actually happen? What's the mechanism? And the answer is, it happens through the sense of feel. The thing that actually closes the gap and creates real agreement is feeling. And then the quote continues by describing what happens once that real feeling shows up. The agreement becomes established on earth. It means that something turns from being just a subjective inner experience into an actual object, an actual fact, something you can point to in the real world. So this is describing a two-step process. First, the feeling becomes real and genuine inside you, and second, because of that inner reality, it eventually shows up outwardly as physical, external reality too. So feeling comes first and physical manifestation follows from it, almost like a natural consequence. So you have to fix the relationship between those two things, you and your desire, and how that relationship needs to change. And right now, for most people, me and the thing I want feel like two separate categories of reality. There is me now in this current situation, and then there is the thing I want out there somewhere, unconfirmed and uncertain. And there's a distance between the two, a sense of separation, almost like the desire is standing far away from you, something you are hoping will eventually show up. And the real change happens when that distance disappears, when you and your desire stop feeling like two separate things and instead become one, the same, merged together, and no gap left between them. It's the same as creating other habits like going to work, but you create other habits out of urgency because you have to do them or you have to go to work, and it turns into habit and it merges inside your mind. In the same way, you can also create through meditation habits that you want and make things really new. But it may be hard at first, but by repeating, you will make the two agree. You will make your desires familiar, even though at first they are unfamiliar and unnatural. So you have to try it and see results for yourself. Okay guys, that's it for this video. Thank you for watching and see you in the next video.